we have now arrived in the extrusion module, which is, in my opinion, the most important module of this whole course. I'm not saying that because the other steps of this process are not important. Grinding, mixing, very important. Drying, coating are also very important. But the extrusion module is where we're going to learn how to transform the mesh that is coming from the grinding and mixing step into your final product. So the quality of your product is mainly driven by the extrusion process. Here it is a compound of many different equipment. So we have the live beam, we have the conditioner, we have the extruder, and all of those equipment together, all those equipment working together will give the quality, will give the shape, will give the dimension, will give the expansion that you need in your product. So the extrusion process is a very complex process because here you have many parameters that we can adjust. We can adjust how we operate at the conditioner. Over there we have many different parameters. We have water, steam, different things. Then we go to the extruder, and here we have a lot. That's why this module has so many classes, because we're going to cover from the basic to more advanced and a lot of troubleshooting. How to control each of those parameters and what will be the consequence of adjusting each of those parameters. So my objective is that at the end of this module, you have enough knowledge to know how to adjust your extruder, how to operate your extruder, how to fine-tune different parameters, what to do, what not to do, how to improve your extrusion process to achieve three things. First, less downtime. We don't want the extruder stopped. Secondly, I want your extruder running at higher capacity, right? And third, and probably the most important one, is improve your product quality. Because only by having good quality we can start thinking about increasing your line capacity. So let's go together in this module and learn all about it. So extrusion. The extrusion you can divide this machine into three machines. First one is the live beam, what we call the live beam. And what is the live beam? The live beam is the silo that receives mesh from the grinding and mixing step. And from the live beam, we have a feeder screw, a screw that takes material out of this live beam and sends to the conditioner. What is important here? It is that this feeder needs to deliver mesh to the conditioner at a continuous pace. We cannot vary. If we have variation here, we're going to have fluctuations inside the conditioner, and we're going to have fluctuations in the extruder. Because at 1 minute, we're going to send more material. The last second, we're going to send less material. And that will cause fluctuations inside the extruder. From the feeder, material is sent to the conditioner, and inside the conditioner is where we're going to start cooking your product. Is where we're going to start adding water, we're going to start adding steam, and we're going to add both of those things to hydrate the mesh and to heat up and cook the mesh. Remember that every product that you are producing over here always will have starch. And what happens to starch when we humidify the starch and we heat up the starch? What happens is that the starch becomes a sticky glue. And this is the glue that is responsible to create the structure of our product, to let our product be strong, robust. Okay? So we need to cook very well. And by doing so, we send a product that is prepared to be extruded, to be cooked inside the extruder. We can start thinking of the extruder like a pressure cooker. Over that, we're gonna have more heat. So inside the extruder, you have a lot of pressure, much higher pressure than a normal pressure cooker that we would have at home. Okay, so material enters the extruder, and inside the extruder, you have a screw, and this screw is gonna move material from the inlet of the extruder towards the die. The die will create the restriction. Okay? As material moves towards the die, we create restriction. Inside this screw, we have shear between the screw and the dough, in the mesh. And because we have this friction, we increase the heat. And because we increase the heat, it is moist, we have compression. This mesh becomes a dough, very similar to a Play-Doh, a very hot Play-Doh. And what happens to a very hot Play-Doh? We have water inside this dough. And as this dough passes through the die, okay, as it passes through the die, it will expand. And why it will expand? Because inside the extruder, you have a lot of pressure, 35, 40 bars of pressure. That's a lot. Okay. The moment that this pressure leaves, the moment that this mesh leaves the die, we have no pressure, atmospheric pressure. So all this water that is in liquid form inside the dough will suddenly become steam. Okay. And steam occupies a larger volume than water. And because steam occupies a large volume, it will expand the product to the sides. Okay, so it will make our product bigger, larger. After that, we have a cutter that will cut, and then you have for your pallet. Okay, that's a very general consumption about the extrusion process. But now that you have understood that, my idea is let's go to the details. So let's talk about each of those equipment. Okay.